guys set a pretty ambitious goal of trying to cut crime. Why did you guys? Let's start off with why did you guys set that goal, and what was the goal? Explain the goal.
Sure. Yeah. You know, as a law enforcement agency, our root mission obviously is that of a crime fighter, and so we're in the wrong line of business if we're not trying to go out and reduce crime. And so the police chief at the time, Chief Theron Bowman, threw a question out. What would it take for us to reduce crime by 50% over 3 years? And so we wrestled with that question, all of our work groups, and came up with various ideas and on how we managed through that. And at the end of the day, we decided we can do this. This is a goal we can do. And so that's where we're headed, a crime reduction of 50% over a 3-year period. And we're just now finishing up the first year. And so we'll be moving into year 2 in January.
You mentioned he asked, how can we do it? What were some of the ideas? How did you guys kind of set that goal?
Certainly, yeah. A lot of our strategies come back to basically a 3-pronged approach. That is citizen engagement, traffic enforcement, and also building legitimacy. And I'll break those down. We know, as an organization, we have to have citizen participation to be successful. That includes our geographic policing philosophy that we employ here at the Arlington Police Department, which basically, broken down in the simplest form, is strategically placing our officers and our supervisors in specific neighborhoods, specific communities for long periods of time, typically 2 years minimum, where they can build relationships with residents that live in the area, build relationships with the business owners, and strategize and come up with time-tested problem-solving methods to reduce social disorder, to improve neighborhood quality of life, and just reduce crime in the area. So that's the citizen engagement piece, and we do a great job here at Arlington with all of our citizen groups, with all of the programs that we have. The second piece of that is traffic enforcement. We know by looking at the research that by placing our officers in marked units and having an aggressive traffic enforcement plan, not only do we change our driver behavior of our motoring public, but we're also at the right place at the right time, and we serve as basically a disincentive for someone to come in and want to commit other types of crime, which we'll talk about in a moment. And so we saturate these areas. We have a high visibility, a large officer presence within our community. And then the third part is legitimacy. Every time we do anything, we always ask ourselves, what have we done to earn the right to police this community? What have we done as an organization? What are our officers doing to build that legitimacy, which is defined as basically just the ordinary judgments that people make about the rightfulness of police conduct. And so we have to make sure that we earn the public's trust, and we do that by our educational initiatives. We do that by building our relationships with our citizens.
What's the biggest challenge when you're trying to cut crime by 50%?
Sure, I think we've looked at that, and at the end of the day, we always ask ourselves, what numbers are just numbers, and that's what they are. But I think the biggest challenge is, what does our public view? What does our public think about the numbers that we're saying? When we say we've reduced crime by a certain percentage, we know that the biggest challenge is as our audience, because if you've just been recently victimized, or if you've just reported a crime, you're looking through that with a different set of lens than maybe we are, and we're very sensitive to that. And so I think it goes back to the way that we tell our story, the way that we participate and encourage participation with our citizens, the way that we engage in dialogue with our community. We're constantly striving to make sure that we communicate effectively, that we're transparent, and that we know that we can't do crime reductions alone. We have to elicit community support in order to be successful. So that's really, at the end of the day, the biggest challenge. Is just by, it's easy to go out and say we've achieved this percentage of crime reduction, but we have to make that very real, and we have to make sure that when we put that out there, that the citizens understand it, and that they know where we are, and that they see the big picture.
I'm just going to change this thing. Sure. What crimes are we talking about here? What sort of, when you're talking about the numbers that have been reduced, what kind of crimes are we talking about? Is
Sure.
it across the board? Or?
Well, that's a great question. Our official scorecard is going to be the Uniform Crime Report. The UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, is published annually by the FBI. And so that's going to be our official scorecard when it comes to our elected officials, showing them where we're at, and also showing our community where we're at. And the way that UCR Part 1 crimes are broken up, there's 2 categories that incidents are reported. The first is violent crime, and the second is going to be property crime. Violent crime is going to consist of like murder, forcible rape, robbery, and aggravated assaults. Whereas on property crime, it includes arson, burglary, larceny, theft, and also motor vehicle theft. And so those are really the crime reductions we're really trying to hit hard. I think it's very important to note that in 2011, there were 5,220 crimes per 100,000 residents. And so our scorecard is the Uniform Crime Report per capita of our residents. That 5,220 crimes in 2011 per 100,000 residents, it's phenomenal because that is the lowest number. That's 38% lower than it was from 26 years ago. That's 38% lower than what it was in 1985. And so any crime reduction, no matter what the percentage, is great. But I mean, to see a crime reduction of 38% over the past 26 years, amazing. And that really goes back to the testament of the work that our troops are doing in the field, the work that our citizens, by them partnering with us, in trusting us, and reporting crimes, and being our extra eyes and ears on the street. It's just phenomenal, and we're very excited about this.
I don't know if it works like this, but is it the sort of thing where if you stop one kind of crime, it could, very well lead to stopping another kind of, is it like a slippery slope sort of deal?
Well,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I guess what you're asking is if you root out, if you concentrate on certain areas, maybe could something go to a different area or lead to something else? We constantly are looking at everything that we do, and that includes our strategies and how we deploy our resources, how we put our officers, what type of community groups that we try to engage with. We're always looking at opportunities to be more successful. And so while crime displacement does occur in limited circumstances, I think if we manage it well and we have a great track record of doing that, then that's really not an effect that we're really worried about. Because at the end of the day, we're looking at overall the global picture of crime in Arlington. And we want all of our residents who call Arlington home. We also want all the millions of visitors that come to Arlington in our premier entertainment district areas and come to have a great time. We want everyone to not only know that they're safe, but we want them to have the perception that crime is low as well. Because at the end of the day, when you've been victimized, you may think that crime is high because it's happened to you. But when you look at the global picture, when you look at the big picture here, we know that our crime rates are dropping. There's crime reductions occurring in every category, and so we're very excited about the opportunities and the challenges that lay ahead. Because, I mean, that's a very aggressive number. 50% over a 3-year period is very, very aggressive. However, we know that we can be successful, and at the end of the 36-month period, if we've achieved a 30 or 40% crime reduction, our hats off to our people and to our community for making Arlington a safer community, and then we can readjust the time frame as needed.
You mentioned visitors. Now, you guys have that added element of, not just the residents that are here, but, on a given weekend,
Sure.
thousands and thousands of visitors coming in. What dynamic does that add to this?
We know that Arlington is the premier destination for sporting venues, for world-class shopping and dining venues, and we realize that, and we encourage that. That's what we want. We want our visitors to come. When they get here, we want them to know that they should feel safe. We want them to be safe, and so we have specialized units that are dedicated to ensuring a great fan experience, from the way we staff our sporting venues to the way we staff our shopping centers. We make sure and we try to always root out any type of criminal element or anything that would deter or detract from the image that Arlington is the best place to come and eat, have a good time, to enjoy a game of baseball or football. We work very hard, and so we strategically place our people. We give them the right tools, and we also, that's why this community participation is so important, because the business owners, the parking lot operators, the sporting franchises, we have to have them on our team. And so we're all one large team in this effort together. And so when we take credit for a crime reduction, we also in turn give that credit back to the community, because we would not be successful without our community involvement.